Hello, my name is Simon Gray, and welcome to BVI Business Insight. Welcome to another edition of BVI Business Insight. My name is Simon Gray, Head of Business Development and Marketing at BVI Finance. And today we're looking at one of our most important international partners, two very leading legal representatives from Panama City with a very strong historic presence with the BVI. And I'm delighted to introduce three of those individuals today. First, Gian Castillero, who is dialing in from Panama City. Gian is the partner of Arias Fabriga and Fabriga, which is a very prominent international law firm with a key presence here in the BVI and in Panama City, and in fact globally. Gian is a prominent member of the Society of Estate and Trust Practitioners. He's the president of the Panamanian International Lawyers Association, a senior advisor to the president and vice president of the Republic of Panama, and also a member of the board of directors of National Bank of Panama. I'm also very pleased to introduce Maria de Lourdes Marengo, who's the senior partner at Patton, Moreno and Asvat. Again, a very, very prominent international firm with a very strong presence here in the BVI and in Panama City. Maria is a member of the Panama Bar Association and the New York State Bar, which I think speaks for itself in terms of exemplary standards, and with a very international background covering directorships in international chain hotels, a prominent airline, trust companies in Panama and here, and also a member of the board of directors of an association that manages an island in the Pacific Ocean off Panama. Both are prolific authors and writers, and Maria is also a lecturer in international law at a prominent university. And I'm also very pleased to introduce not only a good colleague, but also a good friend, Michelle Hibbert, who is very much the person on the ground here in BVI representing Patton, Moreno and Asvat from a legal perspective, but also from a trust and shipping registry perspective, etc. So we're very fortunate to have that level of expertise and knowledge here today. And the theme today is very much Panama and the BVI, and we're calling it a very special relationship. If I could perhaps turn first to you, Gian, what is it, why is it that Panama and the BVI have such a close bond? What is it that triggered that, and what is it that makes that bond so strong?
Thank you much for the invitation, Simon. It's a pleasure to participate with you in this program. Panama has had a very good professional relationship with BVI since, I guess, the beginning of the 1980s, when BVI started to promote corporate services to the international community. And because already Panama was by then a well-established service provider corporate center, it allows Panamanian and BVI to complement each other in provided services and creating an ecosystem that was beneficial for both jurisdictions. Some of the practitioners in Panama set up trust offices in BVI that helps to somehow promote the jurisdiction, because we have already contact with clients in different countries. BVI was a well-established, well-known, with a great reputation jurisdiction, starting an operation in the 80s with a lot of the technology efficiencies of new business. And that created a fantastic combination that benefited both countries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Maria, would you like to expand on anything Jan said?
Yeah, well, what I heard from Jan is exactly the way I see it. as you know, this all started at a time of very difficult times for Panama, and BVI was a fantastic combination, or an option for our clients, and then it develop itself on many other areas, and it's a great benefit for us to be able to hold a license in BVI, because clients have enjoy or take advantage of having both jurisdictions for their structures.
Good. And I wonder if I might just turn to Michelle now at this juncture. What intrigues me, Michelle, and I appreciate all three of you are lawyers of similar standing, but Panama is traditionally from I guess, a civil jurisdiction tradition. BVI is common law. You've witnessed both. What is it, do you think, in terms, is it the flexibility of the BVI that helps create that bridge between the two nations?
Absolutely. It's not only the flexibility of the structures that are offered here, the vehicles that are offered here in the BVI, but the compatibility of each one of them in terms of the Panamanian jurisdiction and what the products that they offer, that in any case would be suitable for what our clients are looking for. So that very particular and special combination is what actually creates value in the products that are offered here in the BVI and in Panama and in conjunction.
Okay. And one thing, if I could go back to Jan on this point, it's the issue of what appears to be an increasing trend of extraterritorial legislation, be it CRS, BEPS, FATCA, and perhaps European Union economic substance more recently. We're two nations, we're relatively small. Panama is a great deal bigger than the BVI, but somehow both of us appear to be able to innovate and create and adapt very, very fast when there are these legal and economic winds blowing. Is it something to do with our psychology? What is it that makes us so flexible and so able to adapt, do you think?
I would say that there are two main factors for that. One is the flexibility that gives you being a small jurisdiction. The second is to be very service-oriented and very much in touch with the needs and changes in the international environment that allows a fairly small community to move very quickly to accommodate the needs of the international community in an aim to remain competitive. So both Panama and BVI have done extremely well in adapting to the new needs and requirements of the international community. And that has been one of the main reasons why both jurisdictions has remained very popular in the international community for a very long time.
No, thank you. And Maria, if I could ask you to expand on that.
Yes, besides that, I think that the fact that BVI authorities have been very keen to stay in contact and make consultations with the users for what is needed and for the changes that they have to implement has been key to the popularity and the flexibility of the jurisdiction, because my feeling is that your authorities have been very, very, very open to hear the needs of the sector, of the industry, and I think that's definitely key.
No, good. And Michelle, from your perspective, you're very much on the front line here in the BVI, so you see the winds of change really directly. Any thoughts from your perspective?
Well, definitely I can give testimony on how all stakeholders have come together to create what we are seeing now, which is a more robust posture, and how to come about, for example, with economic substance and the type of support and consultation that our clients require in this pressing moment. It's true that it's a sudden change, if you may, but because we had this dynamic with the authorities, especially with the ITA, that they work closely with the industry in our workshops and even afterwards in providing that consultancy and support, so we at the same time could provide this clarity to our clients and comfort, and all of that in conjunction just shows how robust itself is the jurisdiction and keen to implement and embrace changes.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the key things, it's the ability to have dialogue. And I understand you're fairly active in the industry from a lawyer's perspective, but also Association of Registered Agents. Can you describe a little how that worked in terms of creating the practical results with the relevant activities of economic substance?
I think I can't deny that having the space through BVI Finance has been pivotal. It has made a huge difference in our ability to come together and have a common ground dialogue that is the same messages that we send to our clients. That has been of great support, having this space through BVI Finance. And what I've seen with clients is that they are very keen to understand, and then from our perspective, we are well able to deliver that understanding that the clients are seeking for them to further make a determination in terms of their structures and how they're going to continue with the jurisdiction or working with the jurisdiction. So at the end, it's a positive outcome working together with the regulator and creating spaces in the industry so we can jointly have a common ground, have a common messaging to the clients and, in fact, the industry itself as the BVI.
Sure. I think one of the key things that I've noticed, it's how relatively small institutions, relatively small countries or territories can have an incredibly big voice. Jan, I know you're heavily involved as an advisor to the Panamanian government. Can you describe some of your experiences of dealing at that level of diplomacy?
Yes, indeed, I'll be happy to. Certainly, as a result of the change towards more transparency and exchange of information, there's been more extraterritorial regulations that affect all of our countries. And one of the successes of Panama is the constant dialogue between the government and the private sector, which try to find the very thin balance between compliance with the expectations of the international community and maintaining competitiveness in the offer that we make to our clients internationally. And that requires both having a clear understanding of the direction the world is moving towards, and at the same time, being very much in contact with the clients and understanding what is happening in their environment, and that fine balance that has made BVI and Panama extremely successful so far.
Very good, thank you. One thing I'd like to really move to briefly now is the issue of really cross-border financial services. And how is it that both jurisdictions create such value for our ultimate clients? Maria, could I ask your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that one of the more important advantages on that is that clients feel that they have certainty on their structures, on their ownership, and they have the tax issue is very important too. It's one of the key issues, because the fact that the fact that neither Panama nor BVI will charge taxes for operations that are undertaken outside the jurisdiction, it's definitely an attraction for the clients and for the structures. And going back a little to economic substance, I thought when this was introduced that this will be an issue for the clients, and it hasn't been, because most clients were able to understand the purpose of the regulations, and most of the clients, on the other hand, are not active companies, but are companies that hold assets or are pure equity holding companies. So that's also something that remains as a positive point for the clients to choose BVI.
Right. Well, thank you very much. Jan, Maria, and Michelle, we're going to take a short break for a few minutes, and we'll be right back. But thank you very much for your time.
How does financial services benefit the BVI? It's been around for more than 3 decades before the World Wide Web and is now part of the everyday life of our islands. More than 2,200 people are directly employed in financial services, and another 3,000 jobs are supported indirectly. Jobs are corporate service providers, lawyers, insolvency, accounting, banking, insurance, regulators. That's almost 27% of the national workforce. Of those, more than 65% are BVI landers and belongers. What about restaurants, supermarkets, or shops? Well, 100% of people eat. So, they buy food. They buy swimsuits and shampoo and cars and power tools and plantains and fish and roti and pates. Financial services employees buy painkillers and lots of beer. Then there's electricity and dental floss and toilet paper and pretty much everything else. And everyone needs a roof over their heads and a place to do business, so we all rent or buy from a local landlord. Housing and office space alone means millions of dollars into the pockets of BVI families. At the end of the day, everyone benefits, including charities who receive thousands of dollars every year. And more than 60% of all government revenues come from fees paid by financial services. This money is spent on schools, roads, ports, scholarships, the environment, health, sports, children, youths, and the elderly. Financial services contributes more than $290 million to the BVI economy. That's more than 30% of all economic activity is driven by financial services. This creates thousands of jobs all across the islands, meaning more people have a way to earn a living. What does financial services do for the BVI? Let's just say it keeps our lights on. Financial services is everybody's business. So, come on, mind your business and let's not keep this to ourselves.
Welcome back to BVI Business Insight. My name is Simon Gray, Head of Business Development at BVI Finance, and today we're talking about the special relationship that exists between Panama and the British Virgin Islands. And I'm delighted to have with me Maria de lo Marengo, Jan Castillero, and Michelle Hibbert. So welcome back, everyone. We were talking about extraterritorial regulation, which appears to be a growing trend. Do you think that trend is going to inevitably continue? Is it motivated purely by business and economics, or is it motivated by politics? Michelle, could I have your thoughts based on your experience?
I think the more we understand what is it required for our industries, the less fear we have, and we are more eager to what the future holds. So we help our clients to plan better as we understand what we have and what we're working with and what is yet to come. So I think it's of great value to have that constant communication and involvement of the industry and the regulators. So we are prepared to embrace the challenges and changes, and we can support our clients and therefore keep doing business and keep growing our business, both in the BVI and in Panama.
Yeah, good. And I wonder if I could just turn to Maria at this junction in terms of applying or seeking to apply international standards. Could you describe some of the activities that take place in terms of always seeking to comply with, for example, the standard setters of the International Monetary Fund, such as IOSCO, Basel, FATF, IAIS?
Yes. In Panama, we received the request for the compliance with the international standards at the government level, and the government will have its own team that works on that. But on the other side, it generally makes consultations with the industry as in order to balance the needs of the industry and the requirements, and we feel secure that we're always kept advised of what's going on. And going back to what you asked Michelle, I would like to comment that definitely there's economics and business taken into account, but at the same time, I think that also politics, because it depends on what each country has as its target and what it wants to do. And I think that one of the common things that we have of BVI in Panama is that we are committed to complying with international standards. And yes, I think that this is going to continue. I think that we're now working in a global net where all the countries will be committed to complying with all the regulations. So it doesn't stop here with economic substance. I think that international extraterritorial regulations will continue.
Great. And of course, it's really an eternal learning process. One looks and benchmarks against comments made on other jurisdictions who had a recent visit, and you look and realize actually we might be able to benefit from that experience. So it's a constantly evolving process. Jan, in your capacity as president of the International Lawyers Association in Panama, do you have anything to add to Maria's excellent summary?
No, I do agree with Maria. There's been a change in mentality since the financial crisis in 2008. Before that, there was this sense of tax competition and individuality of the different countries fighting against crime. After the financial crisis in 2008, there was a change in the way the different countries behave, and in terms of competing with each other, they agree to cooperate with each other, both at the tax level and fighting crime. And as a result of that, we have seen a trend for more cooperation and exchange of information that I believe is here to stay. I don't see anything changing in the short term. I would see more extraterritorial regulations in the future being suggested or imposed in the different jurisdictions. So the nature of the business is changing. The underlying needs are still there. There are very legitimate reasons to continue using the offer of services of BVI in Panama, and we would need to continue to adapt, continue to study, as you mentioned, is a continuous studying to be able to serve the need of the client. But certainly the underlying needs are still there, and they are counting on jurisdictions like ours to be able to attend those needs.
Sure. No, thank you. And Michelle, I wonder if I could just move to you on this point, because you can see it certainly from both perspectives very well. You're physically based here. We do an awful lot of industry alignment and industry debate to make sure that whatever new laws are coming in are fine-tuned to make them as effective as possible. And I know you're very active with some of those bodies, but what can you tell me about your Panamanian experience as well?
I think very similar to the BVI, we have spaces in Panama where discussion take place to understand the extent and the impact of new regulation. So in general sense, it's a common and very necessary practice to get together as an industry and have these common discussion, only to achieve us being more clear in how we provide our advice to our clients and also advice to the regulators in terms of how the initiative for new regulation can and will impact the way we do business and furthermore the economy of the said jurisdiction. So I have experienced the same here in the BVI with very much pleasant experience, I would say, seeing that involvement with the regulator, which again puts us in a better position when we speak to our clients and we can provide a certain and more rounded, I would say, response in terms of the impacts of the new regulation or proposed regulation. So communication is key. whether it's in a platform within the industry and regulators, and the impact that would have in how we go about with our clients and our relationships.
No, great. I mean, one thing I think that really makes something very special about our relationship, Panama and BVI, we mentioned the word innovation, flexibility, adaptability, and perhaps that's exemplified perfectly in the rapid advancement in the world of digital investment, digital technology, cryptocurrency, etc. We're very active in the BVI, but Jan, can you tell me how that market is developing in Panama at the moment?
Yes, I would say very cautiously about it because it's a new trend, but we are considering creating sandboxes for those new pieces of legislation that need to be provided for new businesses to develop under, of course, the reasonable degree of scrutiny, make sure that they are in compliance with all the due diligence and necessary prevention to avoid crime. But yes, the country is looking into that as a new trend that is here to stay, and that we will need to embrace sooner rather than later to remain competitive.
Okay. And Maria, could you add anything from your perspective?
Not really. I think that I agree with what Jan is saying. I think that there's awareness of the need to comply and at the same time create regulations that will attract new business. But other than that, at this specific time, I don't think that there's anything I can add.
No, I mean, the approach that we've taken here in the BVI is relatively cautious. We have a sandbox regime and we've got a very firm fintech initiative. But it's very useful to benchmark and to see what others are doing. What I have noticed that some who've rushed in haven't necessarily been fully prepared for the race globally. So you've had a number of casualties. The approach we take, and I believe Panama is also taking, is very much one of looking, listening, learning, and moving with a degree of caution. Michelle, obviously being based here, any thoughts on how the FSC approach their fintech regime and sandbox regime?
I think essentially what they have made sure is that they have reviewed the existing regulation and made the adjustments, again, involving the industry and understanding how what needs to be done and the impact that derives from that analysis and implementation, but also providing spaces for the clients or the companies that are interested and being open for the necessary advice that they need to understand this new way of business, because it's a new platform, so it's completely different from what we're accustomed to. So that openness and being eager to understand from a regulatory standpoint has been very important, at least to get the word out, and obviously to have in place all what we need in terms of regulation so we can jumpstart and try to be ahead of the game as a jurisdiction.
And I think one of the great advantages we have is the fact that a number of our products are already perfect for innovation.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about the incubator funds, the approved funds regime. Obviously, our business companies are very flexible. We have a large number of crypto exchanges already registered in the BVI and operating. And again, that's an example of the BVI's innovative capability, which is not dissimilar from Panama as well.
Yeah.
So, no, thank you very much for that. One thing I do want to quickly move back to, if I may, is the important subject of what is known sometimes as whitelisting. It also means the list of cooperative nations. In February of this year, Michelle, the BVI was put on the European Union's economic substance whitelist, or list of cooperative nations or countries. Any thoughts on that accolade?
Well, first of all, a great celebration for the industry. We're very pleased that all the efforts that were put in place were greatly appreciated with this outcome. And it's just to reassure that we are on track, that it is possible to, yes, it's a sacrifice, it's a lot of work that was in place, but I think the major outcome to reach to that goal was, again, coming together as an industry and with a mindset of we need to get this done. So with that mindset, we were able to put in place what was necessary, and then with great celebration, we got this news. So it has been a great experience.
No, I know no room for complacency, of course, but it was certainly well deserved. But it's something we will seek to maintain, of
Absolutely.
course, as all good nations should. It's hard to really talk about 2020 without mentioning COVID. And it's fair to say that 2020 has turned out somewhat differently than we anticipated in December of 2019. I was wondering, from a Panamanian perspective, what the impact of COVID has been in terms of financial services volumes or business volumes generally. Perhaps, Maria, I could ask you to speak first.
Yes. I don't have the exact numbers of how it has impacted the number of business regarding corporations in the public registry. But despite the enormous amount of work that it has required to continue providing the services, I'm pleased to say that business has continued, that we have endeavored and managed and been able to continue to provide the services, both in Panama and BVI. Despite the difficulties, we have been able to obtain all the support from the regulator and from the other services as legalizations and anything that is required for our line of business. So yes, definitely it will be unfair to say that COVID hasn't affected, but we have managed to continue providing services, and clients have been able or have continued to desire to use the structures of Panama and BVI in their transactions. So after a big effort, as with the case of the economic substance, I am pleased to say that we feel grateful that business has continued.
Well, that was very well put, and thank you very much. I think it was Winston Churchill who said, "Why let a good crisis go to waste?" He had a number and he dealt with them pretty effectively. That's something of an understatement, but I think thank goodness for electronics, thank goodness for Zoom and Skype and FaceTime. But they always say that out of a crisis can come an opportunity. And one thing that we're seeing huge acceleration here, it's the rise in distressed debt funds in terms of litigation and insolvency, but equally the sense of recovery. Times will get better, and I think the beauty of the BVI in Panama is that the business-friendly environment, the capacity to be flexible, to change, to learn very, very fast and adapt very, very swiftly should stand us both in very good stead. So on that note, I would like to say thank you very much to Maria, to Jan, and to Michelle for your very informative discussion this morning, and our special relationship looks set to last for a great deal longer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.